Go. Okay, well, welcome everybody. I'm Michelle Baldwin. I am a senior advisor in transformation team at Community Foundations of Canada. We provide some backbone to the Transition Innovation Group, but it's your group, and really there's all sorts of people on this call who make things happen to bring this to life, and that includes those who are going to be facilitating. So big thanks to everybody who's done that in the past, to Youthful Cities for today, and for anybody who wants to be engaged in this way going forward. There's an invitation for that, most definitely. So I'm calling in today after being away for 3 weeks. I'm back on the land of the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, Lenape peoples, which is now called London, Ontario. As I was coming in to think about, land acknowledgements and youthful cities, I would say that I'm in a community that has been, and I know there's a few of us from this community, where we've had different iterations of thinking about youthful cities and different ways that has shown up. Aditi, who's on her second day with us at Community Foundations of Canada, and also works with Luis on the call at Pillar Nonprofit Network, has been doing some amazing youth engagement work. And I know many of you that this topic will be near and dear. And so, within Indigenous teachings that I have come to understand, just really valuing all the generations. And as we think about that 7-generation thinking, how are we building for now, but how are we building into the future? And so I'm excited because I think we have some fun planned in this presentation that will get us a little bit of gamifying, which is kind of fun. So just a couple reminders. We do have our weekly notes. So Taryn Lucas, who is here with us from Community Foundations of Canada, is helping to take notes, as is Michelle's Otter AI and Shane's Otter AI. And so if you don't know what that is, it's a great note-taking tool. We do have a National Observer series that is still running. And so if anybody is interested in penning an article, they're usually about 800 words to share something that you're working on. Not so much just it's not about your organization, but it's more like a big idea or something, a way that you want to express societal transition and perspectives on that. So I've put a link in the chat so that you can check that out. And then we also have a survey that has been out and about, where we're trying to capture your insights for a kind of next iterations of the Transition Innovation Group. So I'll pop that into the chat as well, so that you can fill that out and make sure that we're really, building something together that is really useful. And I was at a recent engagement where we were talking a lot about these peer input sessions and how do we come to those in a way that is, affirming, of course, if there's parts that are resonating, but also just knowing the team at Youthful Cities, also looking for some genuine feedback and critical discussion and discourse. And so just an invitation as you're listening today to show up wearing a hat that brings all of that to the conversation, and we'll have some fun together. And then maybe just an invitation that if you're wanting to host at all, then there's an opportunity to do that. And in fact, Taryn is lined up for May 31st, so thank you for that. And I'm just pausing for a moment. Taryn, is there anything in my updates that I might have missed?
I'm listening, and it sounds like I think we're good to go. I think
okay.
Robert can get the session going now.
Okay, well, I'm going to have people I'm going to try something. When I've done this in the past, people share a lot. I'm going to ask you just to say your name and your organization. And if you go past that, I'm going to try to gently nudge you or really directly nudge you in the spirit of critical discourse. So let's get started. I'm going to have Nishan, you're going to model this.
Gosh, no pressure. Nishan Chandran and the Royal Society of Arts, Manufacturers and Commerce for Canada.
Wonderful. Taryn.
Taryn Lucas. I work with CFC Community Foundations of Canada doing recovery funding and transformation work.
Great. And I'll give you a heads up actually that you're coming. So Nicole and then Aditi.
Hi, everybody. Nicole Daw here joining today with the Community Foundation of Newfoundland and Labrador.
And Aditi and Laura.
Hi, everyone. My name's Aditi. I'm on the CFC team as a transformational analyst, and I'm still doing some work at Pillar as a youth engagement coordinator.
Laura and then Jenna.
Hi, everyone. Laura Schnur, Climate Transitions Program at Tamarack Institute.
Jenna and then Preeti.
I'm Jenna, props for pronouncing it right, and I'm with Youthful Cities.
Preeti and then Alex.
I'm Michelle Preeti and also Youthful Cities.
Great. Alex and then Luis.
Hi, Alex Ryan, Syntheticus.
Great. Luis and then Kazito.
Hi, Alex. Nice to see you. I'm Louise from Social Innovation Exchange in London, and I am the Global Innovation Partner of Youthful Cities.
Oh, news for me. And then I'll go to the other Alex and the other Luis.
All right. So my name is Kizito Mosabimana, and I'm with the Rwandan Canadian Healing Center here in Toronto.
Great. Alex and then Luis.
Alex Twight, Sustainable Impact Foundation.
I'll have to keep track on, we have similar names. Luis and then Lynn.
The tricky one, eh? Luis Patricio, SDG Cities co-lead at Pillar Nonprofit Network.
Lynn and then Vibor.
Hi, Lynn Ferguson, glad to be here. I'm a free agent.
Oh, awesome. Vibor and then Raj.
Hi, Vibor here. I'm with Youthful Cities.
And then Raj and then Emmanuel.
Hi, Raj, also from Youthful Cities.
Emmanuel and Thomas.
Hi, Emmanuel Mellis for the Network for the Advancement of Black Communities in Treaty 13 Toronto.
Thomas and then Inda.
Thomas, champion for newtomorrow.ca.
Inda and then Mariana.
Hi, everyone. I'm Inda, Transformation Storytelling Fellow with Community Foundations of Canada.
Mariana and then Njoki.
Hi, Mariana from the Center for Social Enterprise at Memorial University of Newfoundland.
Great. And Njoki and then a 902 number.
Oh, hi, everyone. This is Njoki. I am a Transformation Storytelling Fellow with Community Foundations of Canada. Hi, Vibor. Okay, bye.
And our 902.
902 is, yeah, thank you. It's Danny Graham. This is my first call for this. I'm with Engage Nova Scotia, and I'm traveling today, so I have to join by phone. Hopefully I can get the richness of the conversation as a result.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Danny. And we do, just for those who are new, welcome, welcome. Love to have people who've been here before and new people. We will send out the notes. So you'll have a copy of the recording, the presentation, and written notes. So you'll be able to catch up, no problem. And glad that you're here. Okay, did I miss anybody? No? Okay, beautiful. Well, let's get started. I see we have a team from Youthful Cities, but I'm going to pass it over to Robert, who's been my contact to connect for today, and let you do an introduction into what we're going to be doing together.
Great. Well, I think most people are here because they saw the note about chocolate, but if you're not here about the chocolate, there's all kinds of other things that we're gonna do today. We wanted to do an introduction on Youthful Cities. It's our 10th year at Youthful Cities, so always a good time to reflect back and also project forward. So I'll tell you a little bit about that. And we do like to have fun at Youthful Cities, and so we have set up a little quiz for everyone. And just to motivate you more, that was in the invitation. We've got a little bit of chocolate for the winner, but not just any chocolate. We'll go into what kind of chocolate it is later on. I think we've got it scheduled for about half an hour. We'll see how the timing goes. And that leaves us a good chunk of time for kind of questions. We do like it to be interactive, so either through the chat, you can ask questions as we're going along. We either will hold those until the end, or we're going to Jen, I forgot to introduce River into the group, but you can do that as there he is. So we'll do that. I might ask you some questions as we go along. And then of course we're going to have the quiz, which is definitely an interactive component. So we're going to share a presentation in a second, but I thought we'll just start on the screen here, and I'll sort of tell you a little bit of a story of Youthful Cities. And really, it all started with a really simple question, which is, where's the best city in the world for youth? So who knows? Anyone on this group want to tell me where is the best city in the world for youth? Just take off your mic and just jump in if you've got any.
In the young person's mind.
Good question. Young person's mind, yeah. What else? Nairobi, good answer. It's a tough question. Go ahead. Who else has an answer?
Somewhere in Europe.
Somewhere in Europe, yeah.
I heard in the Netherlands we have the happiest kids in the world, something like that.
Might be in the Netherlands. Well, yeah, Montreal. Someone's got to vote for Montreal. But I mean, and it's actually, it is a hard question. First of all, we have to define what we mean by a city. And that's always challenging as we deal with that all the time at Youthful Cities. The second one is we need to figure out what we're measuring. And I think someone mentioned this, in the minds of youth. So back in 2013, we went to an international youth conference international urban conference put on by the UN. And we went to the youth side of that, and we basically surveyed youth from around the world about what the topics are that they think are really important in cities. So that started our process of understanding. But then there's this question about youth. So when I said the word, what's the best city in the world for youth, what did you think of? Who are youth? Like, how do you define youth?
Joy.
Age. Yeah, Nishan's got age. What age? 16 to 21, thanks, Alex. Anyone else? There's actually no definition for the word youth. Real, true age definition for the word youth. In parts of Africa, someone mentioned Nairobi earlier, sometimes youth is up to 40 years old. In England, where Nishan's accent came from at one point in time, when you say youth there, they actually mean 11 to 18-year-olds. So it's a very, very different definition. But more importantly, and I've been working with young people for almost 30 years now, is there's a perception, there's baggage with that word. If you are under 30, kind of put your hand up if you put youth on your resume. Is that something that you think will get you a job? And the answer is generally no. And when we've looked at studies in the media, what we find is that the word youth is almost about, I think one study I saw of the US, 90% of the time that word is used in the media, it's connected with negative. Thank you, Manuel. Yes, incarcerated youth. We've got youth violence, youth gangs, youth unemployment, entitled youth. You can keep on going and going and going. And that perception is one of the reasons we didn't, I guess, call ourselves youth in cities, is we felt that actually would actually hold us back. But there is this amazing thing that happens when you add 3 letters to the end of the word youth, which is when you say youthful. And youthful is, as I'm looking at Alex, most people smile. And what it turns out, even though it just means attributes of youth, as we started to learn 10 years ago, there's a lot of positivity in that word, that it probably means the positive attributes of youth. The question is, what are those attributes? So again, back to Emmanuel's idea around how to define cities, we went right to youth and said, okay, help us figure out the adjectives to describe youthfulness. And I'm going to share my screen and we're going to jump into the presentation. I'm just looking at, keep your post going in the chat. Sometimes I can read them fast and present at the same time, but sometimes I can't. Okay, I'm going to jump into the presentation here. And so these are the qualities or adjectives that young people use to describe youthfulness. So when you say someone's youthful, or some city is youthful, or some organization is youthful, these are the, actually, let me just push this into slide mode. Thank you. Okay, can everyone see that okay? I'm looking at Michelle because that's the only person I can see at the moment, but
yeah,
you can see it
looks
okay.
good.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So to be curious, connected, open, dynamic, and inventive. So those 6 qualities, if you think about a city that's curious, connected, open, dynamic, inventive, and playful, does that sound like a desirable place? And for most people, if you put your hand up, I would say yes. That's, if you could find a city that has all those things in it, it's desirable. When we certainly when we ask young people, they think this is definitely a desirable state. In fact, they want to find those cities. It makes it very, if you can build these qualities, it makes for a very attractive city, which is something that we're working on at Youthful Cities. So I mentioned this as a core set of values that we run everything at Youthful Cities on, is how do we create cities that fit with this particular model of youthfulness? How do we create these youthful cities? In the intro, I also talked about us surveying young people about the topics they care about. And broadly, they came up with, let me just get to the next slide. Broadly, they came up with these 20 topics. So under the themes of kind of live, work, and play, they came up with topics that allow us to, everything from civic engagement to climate change to public transport, public safety, health. On the work side, we're going to talk some more about that later. Education and training, jobs, affordability, economic growth, entrepreneurship, financial access. Under the play side, everything from sports and recreation to green space to nightlife to music, film, tourism, etc. What's anyone want to take a shot, and you can put it in the post? What do you think are the top? Put in the ones that you think are the most important to young people. We've surveyed young people around the world, and we surveyed young people in Canada. If you were to pick your top 3, you could also take your mics or put your mics on and just scream them out if you want. Top 3 issues that young people. Just gonna open up the chat and have a look. Jobs, public safety, climate action. Thanks, Noki. Climate action, top. Jobs, travel, affordability, public arts and culture. Thank you for those answers. The interactivity is great, by the way. Diversity, equity, inclusion, good jobs, arts and culture. So top of the list these days, affordability. Definitely jobs, and actually health. They come up as those are the top 3. Closing out education certainly shows up in the top 10. Yeah, Emmanuel's right there. When depending on where we've done talks in the world, in I would say groups that maybe don't have as much information as this group does with the transition innovation group, there's an amazing number of people who jump right to the number 1 issue for youth is shopping, entertainment, and nightlife. That actually comes almost dead last when we rank these issues for young people. Still important, but it's not the most important thing for young people. So another thing that we try to do to change perceptions. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Okay, so we do all this background work. We figure out what youthfulness is. We figure out the topics that youth care about. We actually build indicators on each of these topics. We find a way, with the help of the Financial Times in London, to create a ranking system. We actually do research on 25 cities around the world. And then in November 2013, does anyone know, well, anyone want to talk about any cities and mayors during 2013? Anyone remember any of the mayors in Canada during 2013? Just scream them out or post them in the chat. Yes, Alex has it. Okay, so keep that in mind. Yeah. Anyone know who this is on the screen? Yes, there's a couple of nods here. Okay, let's see what he has to say.
On the subject of Toronto, a new annual report called the Youthful Cities Index, which compares all the world's major cities, has determined that Toronto is the world's most youthful city. They judge the cities on 4 main criteria: diversity, entertainment options, public spaces, and does your mayor smoke crack? Berlin was the second most youthful city. New York came in third, and the world's oldest city, the world's least youthful city, for the 5th year in a row, Metamucilton, Illinois. LA was the 8th most youthful city. And we may not be the most youthful city. We definitely have the most paralyzed foreheads here. Okay, so I want to ask you, on the subject of Toronto, a new annual report.
Let me get to the next slide. Anyway, so we did not know that was going to happen as far as getting on Jimmy Kimmel. But what it did do is it got a worldwide, not Jimmy Kimmel, but that ranking of cities based on all the research that we did, collecting data in 25 cities. By the way, we were setting up out of the UK, so it wasn't a bias in the fact that we were, kind of in some ways headquartered in Canada, that Toronto happened to come number 1. But the idea that we would collect all this data, we would actually create a system to score cities, created a lot of attention around the world. In some ways, everyone loves a top 10 list. And one of the things that we found is that, of course, in this case, the most youthful city was very excited about it and wanted to talk about it and make everyone aware of it. And the cities that were closer to the bottom wanted to find ways that they could get to the top. So it created what we call a positive competition, where we can start to use data in a way to start inspiring change. It also, we also started doing a lot of research on where cities were at, again, 10 years ago, and we've subsequently done about 10 different indexes since then. And we really believe that cities are, in the Canadian case, but also globally, they really are the progress engines for the world, or in this case, for Canada. But we fundamentally believe that young people are the engineers of that change. So the more we can supply young people with good data, with ways of getting together and ways of creating social action and social innovation, that's really what the goal is for Youthful Cities. Here's the challenge that we had. When you think about the pandemic and you think about those youthful values, it really crushed youthfulness, not just in cities, but certainly among young people. And this sort of feels like an ongoing quiz, but what percentage of the formative years of young people in Canada do you think were inside the pandemic? Just, again, shout it out or post it in the chat. What percentage of young people's formative years were in the pandemic? And formative years, as we do the calculation, generally we look at formative years being when people start to feel a sense of independence. So usually in the mid-teen years, and then when they or their peers are starting to have their first child, for example. So it's not quite in the 70% mark, but if you look at that sort of age span, it's probably 20 to 30% of the formative years of an entire generation was stuck in the pandemic. And that means that when they're building skills, and especially these values that we have on the screen here, these are like youthful skills, right? And you build your curiosity, your connectedness, a lot of questions around remote work and and remote schooling, remote education. And did young people miss the opportunity to start building the skills around how to connect with people in person? That's a question that's certainly on the table, and we're hearing a lot about it at Youthful Cities. So really big pressure, not only on cities to become youthful and maintain their youthfulness, but definitely around young people and understanding what impact that's going to have long-term in Canada, but also around the world, because obviously the pandemic was around the world. So that's something that we're keenly aware of and interested in at Youthful Cities. The basic system change model that we use at Youthful Cities is these 4 steps. One is to find useful data. You could also say it's youthful data. Useful data is number 1. And we often talk about this idea of data-driven solutions that make cities more youthful places. So it starts with really good data, understanding what's happening in cities, making sure that data is coming from a perspective of the way that young people think. And then the next step is to tell stories. And I talked about the top 10 list. It is amazing how many people like to talk about top 10 lists. So as soon as we list the top 10 cities, or in that early case, the top 25, it generated a lot of conversation and a lot of stories. What we found, though, is just telling the stories isn't enough. What we need to do is use those stories to generate interest amongst people who want to gather. So once we can get people together, much like this transition and innovation group, bring people together with some common interests, understanding, build a sense of where the opportunities are using good quality data. That means we can get to that sort of final stage, which is initiating action. That's ultimately the goal for us, is to initiate action. So that's those are the components of Youthful Cities, or the programmatic areas that we work on. So as we're building, 10 years in now at Youthful Cities, we certainly have been building this along the way, but we've done an analysis of our programming in the first 10 years, where we've been successful, where we haven't been as successful as we wanted to. And we really feel like the approach for us going forward is to make sure that we're investing in cities more deeply. We're actually putting teams who are living in those cities. They're funded to be working full-time in those cities, and they're running our programming in each of these individual cities. So what that looks like is, for example, in every city, we're creating an open information hub as part of our sort of more global information hub. It means we're creating a media lab to tell great stories about what's happening in cities, using that data and using the young people that we've got in those cities. We've been creating web apps over the last few years to really help young people use the data we've got to help them make decisions, for example. We also, in each of these cities, we want to convene youthful people. So our goal being to have 100 kind of champions in every city, spread across a number of different partners. And then finally is to fund the best ideas. I was talking with Andrea from Social Innovation Canada recently, and one of her thoughts was, we should create a fund that would fund some of these great ideas. So, something we hope to work on with them over time. And obviously talking with Louise at Social Innovation Exchange, how do we take this model and take it into the global sphere as well? So an example of one of these phases, just to give you a sense of the data that we're collecting, is we're collecting indicator data, which is quantitative. We're collecting location data, which is all geographic, opinion data, sort of quantitative opinion surveys, qualitative data through interviews and storytelling. And then we're creating ecosystem mapping of different ecosystems within cities. All of that ends up in an open data hub, which is called the Grid, and it's free and available to everybody to use. So the goal of making sure that we're creating that free flow of information. One of the observations that we've made over the years is that young people are pulled back because apparently they don't have enough experience to do a lot of things. When we supply young people with great data and information, it takes away that experience gap, because they're dealing with real hard facts, and that generally gets them further down the path combined with their passion. Just quickly before we get to the quiz part of this, our goal in Canada is to start to build these networks of partners surrounding our work and complementing their work. So working in each of the cities to have a university partner, local youth organizations, city building organizations, media, economic development, foundations, and the municipality, so that we're able to further develop our work, but also contribute to their work. And that's an important part of the change model that we have at Youthful Cities. And no names on here, but you can probably see where some of these dots are placed. But these are the 12 cities that we've identified so far in our first phase, is to build a team in each of those cities over the next 2 to 3 years, to start to deliver the programming that we've got at a very local level, and then of course expanding. We've now worked in 30 cities across Canada, and you're going to see those in a second as well. Okay. So the quiz. Keeping an eye on the time here. Okay, well, this is the prize you're seeing on the screen. So for whoever wins this quiz, we have a batch of Youthful chocolates. So the way it works is we've got 9 questions. And by the way, the Youthful chocolates, we're going to find a chocolate shop in your community, except for Nishan, because I think that's a little too remote, but we'll figure it out with Nishan. We'll find a chocolate shop in your community, and we're going to ask them to put together a custom box of Youthful chocolates for you based on the 6 values of Youthful Cities. We've now done this little challenge in cities from Nairobi to Kumasi in Africa to Kuala Lumpur, and Melbourne in Australia to Mexico City, and a bunch of cities across Canada already. So just a fun way to challenge the chocolatiers to build Youthful chocolates. We're going to use a honor system. So you just have to basically tell us whether you've got the question right. And then we'll see at the end how many people, who's got the most points. And then we may have to have a final runoff to see who's going to win the youthful quiz. So I'm actually going to have our team do the quiz, so you get to meet them a little bit. And this is all data that we're collecting through Youthful Cities. So I hope you enjoy the quiz, and I'm going to pass it over to Raj.
Amazing. Great to meet everyone. Some familiar faces I see on the screen, and some are new, so it's great to meet everyone. Raj again from Youthful Cities. I'm a project lead. A lot of this data that is making up this quiz is from a project that we're working on that's going to be launching in less than a month. So Robert will speak more about that after this quiz as well. But let's get right into the questions. So part of understanding young people and cities and how those connect together is looking at, this data from the simplest sources to the most complex sources. So the first question here is, Canada's median age in 2022 was 41. What was the median age 50 years ago in 1972? And the answers are A, 36, B, 32, C, 29, and D, 27. I see everyone's writing in the chat.
Yeah, if you write in the chat, then we know what your real answer was. So that's good. Keeps everyone honest. Yeah, it is cheating if you use Google, by the way, but you have to be really fast. Some of these aren't as easy to find on Google, so Okay, we'll go to the answer on this one using ChatGPT. That's good. Let's see how right it is then. You'll have to tell us, Alex. And the answer is?
There is 27. So 50 years ago, Canada's median age was 27 years old. And now it's 41. So pretty major shift occurring across the age groups in Canada. And similarly, we can see it in policy shifts on platforms and all that. When it comes to, especially when it comes to elections, when you see a lot of policies towards the senior age group rather than young people.
Yeah, massive shift. Think about, the median age is that obviously half of the population was 27 and under. So that is pretty amazing. Okay, next question.
All right. So kind of similar question, but a little more percentage aspect. So in 1972, over 1 in every 4 Canadians were between the ages of 15 and 29 years old. What percentage of Canada's population in 2022 did young people represent? So the answers are A, 20.4, B, 18.9, C, 26.2, and D, 22.6%.
Lots of numbers coming in. This is good. It's good to have a distribution of answers. So we'll see how many points everyone's got. Okay, and the answer is, you have to go quick on this so we get to the conversation part.
The answer is 18.9%. So B, as you can see in this graph quickly, is that overall the youth population has grown, but it hasn't grown to the same extent as other age groups within Canada. So it actually makes up, young people make up a less percentage of Canada's population now. Less than 1 in 5 Canadians are young people, compared to 1972 when it was more than 1 in 4. So definitely a shift is occurring.
What's amazing about this as we were researching it is look at that top right corner, which is the 2022 15 to 19-year-olds. 50 years ago, there were more 15 and 19-year-olds in Canada than there are today, which is really an amazing stat for me, to see what is, what's happening within the demographics of Canada when I'm thinking about the universities, and the fact that they're still packed and we can't get them, young people, into residences and everything else. It really is amazing to me that we have a lower population. Obviously, it increases later on. It also says that the immigration's probably not coming in young enough, that we need to get more immigration in that younger group to supplement that. But as a society, less than 20% of youth could be a really challenging thing for us in the future as far as contributing to an aging population. Thanks, Emmanuel. Okay, next question.
Just a little note on ChatGPT. If you actually ask it for the source, it actually sometimes does provide you where the source data came from. Question 3, 66% of Canadians live in these 30 cities. So the 30 cities are the dots that you see on the screen here. So there's a few cities from coast to coast in each province, and as well as to territory. What percentage of youth live in these 30 cities? As compared to 66% of Canadians living in these 30 cities. So A, 66, B, 68, C, 72, and D, 74.
Okay, honor system, a few A's, B's, lots of 74s. Taryn's going for 72. And the answer is?
The answer is C, 72% of Canada's youth, 15 to 29, live in these 30 cities that Robert will speak more about as we go on.
Well, these are the 30 cities that we've been working on. We've got data on across Canada. I think the key thing here is that, cities tend to be younger. They tend to attract young people. That's where the young people see the opportunities. And the question is, do that also, almost because our political system is weighted towards balancing urban and rural, that means that young people have probably even less of a voice in future decisions as we would like them to have. I'm going to keep on going. Okay, next question. Which city do youth earn the highest average income? There's an amazing difference in income across the country, by the way, but which city do you think youth can actually get the highest income? We've got Inda for Yellowknife. Yeah, if you could put the letters in, that's great. Stefan is thinking Ottawa, maybe A or B. I don't know what Taryn, you got to pick one. Okay, and the answer is Ottawa. Highest income is Ottawa. And average per month is just over $3,200. So we're going to continue on this affordability theme. Last year, we published something called the Affordability Index. And the I see Alex is doing a ChatGPT analysis of everything. Excellent. The 30 cities we do aren't not, let's see, the biggest 30 cities, but that should still be higher, but we'll have to keep looking at the data and ChatGPT at the same time. So what we did a year ago is we launched something called the Affordability Index, and that index looked at income and costs and then calculated a monthly surplus or deficit in every city across, or 30 cities across Canada. So so the next question is, which city had the lowest overall cost of living? There's your four options. I'm going to start speeding up our survey here. Moncton. One of those be Laval. Okay, and the answer is actually Regina. So the lowest cost was Regina, just over $2,000. Okay, so that's your income, that's your cost. And if we take a look at the surplus, so monthly surplus, the next question is, how many of the 30 cities had a monthly surplus, which is income minus cost of living? There's a few in there for B, A. Here's the answer. 0. Trick question. There wasn't actually one city that we looked at, big or small. We looked at cities as, yeah, I know it was sneaky. Sorry, Taryn. Big or small. There wasn't one. The closest was Lethbridge, only if you're a man, because the numbers for women were not anywhere close to this. But very, very difficult to find a city that was well, we didn't find any, big or small, that were positive. No, I'm not keeping the top. Don't worry. That's still going to the whoever's got the most points. Okay, next question. I think this is going to, is it Jenna or is it? No, it's going to Preeti.
Me. Yeah. Yes. So we looked at cost of living as well, but if you remember, of course you remember, about 3 years ago we had the pandemic just starting, and the unemployment rate changed around the world. So just prior to the pandemic in Canada, youth unemployment was around 11%. What do you think it rose to by May? So about 3 months into the pandemic. And just a bonus question, how did that compare across the world to the UK and Germany?
Okay, so everyone's dropping in their answers. So what did it raise to by May 2020 from 11%? Answer, almost 30%. Yeah, go ahead, Preeti.
Yeah, you can see here as well that the youth unemployment rate was also approximately double the whole time from the general population's unemployment rate as well, which is concerning for the young people who are affected by that. Canada also had a much bigger increase than the other countries we compared to.
It's a good comment, Emmanuel, as far as, this is average youth, right? And when you look at certain segments of youth, like Black youth, it was even more dramatic. What's troubling is if you look at the green line and the brown line, as Preeti saying, they were flat. This is youth unemployment in the UK and Germany. And for some reason in Canada, we had this incredible spike of unemployment, which may show that our economy is not very dynamic when it comes to these big shocks that are coming to the system. So something we need to be aware of. Okay, over to Jenna.
Hey everyone, I didn't get a full opportunity to introduce myself before, so I'll just say I'm the technical lead at Youthful Cities. I work with with our open data platform. So if we're going a bit quick with the quiz, anything about affordability is on our open data portal, the grid. So you can check that out later. And May 30th, a lot of this additional data is going to be available there as well. So just a little plug in there for that. So question 8, Canada's unemployment rate for 25 plus in March 2023 was 4.3%. What was the youth unemployment rate?
So there's your range. Thanks for putting your guesses in. We've got everything from 3.7 to 9.2. If you looked at the last graph, you probably would get this one. 9.2 was the unemployment rate. Jen, I'm going to do the next question quickly.
Yeah.
No, you go.
Oh, okay. I thought you said you were going to do it.
I was going to move to it.
All right, this one is super interesting in our opinion. So which city had the most interprovincial migration of youth per capita over the last 5 years? Calgary, Halifax, Vancouver, or Edmonton? So which city had the most youth moving to it per capita?
Lots of attention for B and C, except for the A that just showed up. And the answer is Halifax. 10,000 young people moved to Halifax in the last 5 years, which is the best. Vancouver also had a lot. So we're seeing young people move to both coasts, and moving out of the center is what we're starting to see in Canada. Okay, so calculate. I'm going to take you through the last part because I do want to save some time for questions. Last part of this presentation. I'd like you to quickly, as you're hearing my voice, calculate how many you've got. And then if we've got a tie, we'll have to figure out how to break the tie, or we'll just get to send everyone chocolate. So remember, honor system. Okay, so just coming up next for Youthful Cities, we've been fortunate enough to receive a federal government ESDC grant, Skills for Success. So we're going to be looking into the skills gap that was created by the pandemic. So that's going to be a huge project for us over the next couple of years. So if you're interested in anything around skills, please get in touch with us on that. That will set us up in those 4 cities, Toronto, Montreal, Calgary, and Vancouver, with staff and offices and everything else, which is fantastic. So again, if you're connected to those 4 cities, there's likely going to be some more cities at. Secondly, and Raj is going to put this plug in to the chat, we're going to be launching the best city for youth to work in Canada. It's our every 2-year index is going to be coming out May 30th. And you can sign up to be part of the briefing session for that on Eventbrite. So we're going to be doing a briefing just after May 30th. And then we also have a summit coming up in the fall, which is all about making cities better places for young people to work. And Preeti mentioned she's working on international programming. We've also set up a goal for the next decade to be in 100 cities around the world with the same model of collecting data, telling stories, bringing young people, youthful people together, and creating social action and innovation, which we're happy to be partnered with Social Innovation Exchange to do that. And then finally, just want to talk about the kind of city that we want to create in the future, which is one that's vibrant, has a vibrant workforce that's actually boosting prosperity for everyone. When you think about the number of young people and the decline of that in Canada, we need to have more young people in the workforce to boost that prosperity for everyone. We want to create cities that are open to new ideas and people, and enabling that social, economic, and climate action that we all need. Cities that are adaptable enough to innovate for challenges of the future, filled with enthusiasm and happiness, enjoying themselves in cities. Cities are so attractive that they are keeping and developing young people and youthful people, regardless of age. And where youth are an integral part of the city fabric. So that's a youthful city. I'm gonna stop sharing to see everyone on the screen for a second. And hopefully everyone dropped in. Yeah, hopefully everyone dropped. Well, what's everyone want to give us your scores as a start? Well, I want to make sure we've got time for questions. Good question, Lynn, as far as a youth-friendly city. We're actually working on an accreditation program. That's part of the next phase for us, is to build that so that every city can kind of live up to a certain standard of that youthfulness that we've talked about. I want to open up for questions while people are. Oh yeah, Emmanuel, yes.
Roberto, this was fantastic. Thanks for you and your team. This was quite engaging and fun. I like this idea of the Youthful Cities, and we work a lot with Black communities across the country here in Canada, and trying to really understand at the end of the day, how are we going to address Black youth and other racialized youth inequity in this country? Because if you pick any socioeconomic indicators, whether it's incarceration, child welfare, unemployment, housing, and so on, youth from these communities are not faring well. So what will change at the end of the day?
I think it's a big question for a limited time that we've got today. So it deserves a much longer answer. I think what I would start with is, you mentioned those indicators that Black youth aren't doing as well. I think it's up to us to continue to give more and more of those indicators, do more research so we can highlight exactly what the situation is and allow us to compare not just Black youth, but other groups of youth that aren't faring as well as we want them to. So that the second one is to make sure, and part of the skills work that we're going to be doing is actually, we're looking at probably 60 to 75% of young people working on those projects are going to be youth who are coming from BIPOC communities. So that allows us to get them involved in creating solutions. So I think it's not just about the data, it's about data-driven solutions with those groups in mind. That's far too short for that important question, but that's the start of an answer. Alex?
Yeah, I'll do a two-part group because the second one will probably be too long as well. The first one is, you tried internationally early on, and you scaled back. What was the reason aside from capacity? And the second one, which is probably longer, is given the fact that focus on data, providing funding, kind of ecosystem building is such a great tool to actually drive efforts like these in cities. What is the selection criteria that you're choosing, and should you focus on areas where that are further behind when it comes to digital inclusion and various other aspects of youth and youthful engagement?
So quickly, the first answer is, we actually started working in Canada. We worked internationally at the same time, but mostly in Canada to refine the programming. So we just felt that needed to be refined to go deeper. And then we were heading back out international and the pandemic hit. So we sort of had to delay that. The second one, the second answer is that's exactly what the data does. If you've got a comparable data set, you can really identify where the needs are, not where I think they should be, but what the data says they should be. So it allows us to look at particular cities in a more effective way to say where we should be developing our solutions. Before we get to it, and we're obviously around for questions, I'm happy to stay longer. I wanted to get to who had the most. So out of 9 points, who got 9 points? Inda got 9 points? Or Inda has a question?
I just have a question, sorry.
So just pause for 1 sec, because if people want to go at the top, I wanted to see how we did on the chocolate challenge. Anyone have 8 points? Just put your hand up. You can use the little reaction.
That was a trick question, Robert. So technically,
oh, that's right.
Is the max.
Figures Jenna would call me on that. That's awesome. I love it. Okay, so 8 was the top. Thank you. 7. Anyone get 7? 6. 5. Literally,
Alex said he had gotten 5.
Who got 5?
Now I'm thinking I maybe have 4. I don't want to double check my answers. 4 or 5.
So Alex and we had a couple people just drop your names in to the group so that I can find you after and we'll find your chocolates. Is it Casito? Did you have 5 as well? Anyone else have 5? So Alex and Casito?
You don't have a tie-breaking question?
No, I think we should give them both chocolates, honestly.
I love it. Awesome.
They deserve it. Is everyone okay with that?
I'm not sure if this honor system is working for me.
We'll share the chocolate.
I can see Michelle's literally in a getaway car because she didn't.
No, I'm okay until I get to where I am. So don't even worry. I knew I was going to have to transition between appointments, but we definitely have time for questions.
If you were in the UK, we'd be questioning how you're driving and on it.
That's right.
Inda, what's your question?
I wanted to ask if the data I want to know if cities are concerned about this data and they're actually doing something, because I'm like a millennial and I'm starting to get pushed out of, the housing market, priced out of it. And I'm just starting. So I know Njoki, for example, is younger than me. And it's just like with climate resiliency, affordability, connectivity, none of it seems to be moving along, especially in North American cities that are medium sized, where like Halifax and others where youth are moving. So I want to know from your experience and perspective, are things changing with the data that we have?
I think, yeah, great question. And thanks for asking it. I think that's ultimately what we're trying to do. Part of it is getting that awareness up, making sure that people are using the data. So what I can say is that affordability index that we launched a year ago, it was in the media for approximately 5 months. People kept coming back to the story, telling the story, reinforcing. Lots of people say they can't afford anything in cities, but when you have the real numbers to back that up, it tends to move policy a little further. We had a piece in the Financial Post in, I think it was September. Jagmeet Singh, the leader of the opposition, brought that up and directed it right towards the Liberals during their policy convention on affordability, and said, here's the facts, like what's the government policy going to be. So whether that created the policy change we need nationally is sort of up for discussion, but at least we're starting to get that momentum going. And our hope with this next index coming up on better places to work is to keep that conversation going. Ultimately, you need ideas, and those ideas need to be invested in, and we need to implement them. So that's part of the model. It doesn't change overnight, but that doesn't mean we can't keep pushing as hard as we can with the data we've got, and this kind of process that we've built to bring people together and to create those ideas for change.
Thank you.
Robert, it's Emmanuel here, and I put in the chat the link to the Resilient Cities movement. I'm not sure if some of your work is also connecting to that in terms of concept. Yeah.
We certainly know of them, but we haven't connected directly. So that's great. Thank you so much for that.
And I'm just jumping in to say, if people have to hop off on the hour, no worries. I just want to say a huge thankful to Youthful Cities, huge thank you to your team for this and making it fun and engaging, but also, just answering some of the questions that we're not diving deep into. And I'm curious about partnerships. Like, is there any ask to this, a call to action to this group that you'd want to leave us with?
Yeah, I think I flipped up that partner slide. So we're looking for partners in university partners in core cities. We're looking for municipal partners, and also, organizational and or funding partners in each of those cities as well. The good thing is we have some funding coming in through this skills program that's going to help us set up teams in these cities, but we also want to further the development of that. And then with Louise on here, Nishan on here has been really helpful. Hopefully Nishan's still here. Maybe he's gone. Can't remember. Anyway, Nishan's been a huge help to us into building out some of our international networks as well. So if you've got any connections like the Resilient Cities Network, we'd absolutely be open to connecting with them.
Awesome. And just so you're grabbing in the chat, Alex, Ryan has put a suggestion. And I know Network for Advancement of Black Communities, you're doing some amazing youth engagement work as well. So yeah, some real possibilities. Okay, back to, is there any other questions that people want to ask for those who are staying around?
And I assume, yeah, actually, thanks, Laura. We do a lot of work with Tamarack. In fact, we're going to be collaborating with Tamarack Institute on the skills development. We've been working with the Communities Building Youth Futures program for the last couple of years, which has been a great experience for us. It also allowed us to get into smaller communities and test out some of the thinking between big cities and small cities. So that's been a huge part of our past, and actually will be an even bigger part of our future as we collaborate on the skills gap research and innovation project. But so thank you for jumping in on that. Yeah.
Cool. I see. That's awesome, Laura. I've been in that situation myself. Kazito, I think you have your hand up.
Yeah, go ahead, Kazito.
Yes, and I was just asking, and this is incredible. I actually learned a lot about Canada just in this 1 hour. Curious, is it possible for us to access the data, especially around the most recent ones that you've collected? Because I think that is very useful for us, for non-for-profits, to depending on whatever we're working on. It's really good to have this background.
Definitely, Kazito. You can get it on the grid, which is the kind of raw data set, and it also allows you to visualize the data. And I think the link is somewhere in there. Maybe we can just repost the link to the grid. The second one is with Michelle's help, we'll send you the presentation and people can have a look through that, and we'll put the links in there as well.
Yeah, and we can always yeah, we can always in the document, people can ask any other questions or make suggestions. And yeah, very cool. 100 cities around the world over the next decade. 100 useful cities. Okay, so cool.
We're heading that direction. So thanks a ton, Michelle, for all that you're doing on this in this group, and for inviting us to present and opening up opportunities for us to write, etc. And huge thanks to the Youthful Cities team as well. They have been working really hard on this new index over the last 6 months. So we're excited to have that go out in the next few weeks. And hope you enjoyed the quiz, just to do something a little different on your afternoon on a Wednesday.
Love it. You've set a bar with this chocolate, so we'll have to hear how Alex and I think it's Kazito, both of you get chocolate, so congrats.
Yeah. So now we just got to figure out if, I think Alex had to go, but we'll get the email, and Kazito figure out which city you're in, and then we'll organize your chocolate delivery.
Awesome.
You're going to share chocolates with me.
Maybe we can pick the best city for chocolates in the world and just pretend that's where you live.
Yeah, no, it could work. It could work.
I will see how much I get, Emmanuel. I'm very greedy when it comes to chocolate.
Okay. Robert, I was not going to embarrass you, but first of all, I like your glasses.
Thanks.
And as I said in the chat, we're fan of young folks, and we challenge my generation, including myself, to work differently with our young leaders. We launched last year, soft launch, a Center of Excellence for Black Youth Economic Empowerment. So we'll have to connect, but also years ago, we graduated 150 young leaders from various specialized communities here in Toronto under the Creative Institute of Toronto Young Leaders. And we are relaunching that as a national institute in Canada. So I'd love to talk to you about that.
Great. Yeah, we'd love to as well. So thank you very much, Emmanuel.
Okay, well, thank you everyone for sticking around a little later too.
Thank you. And the Michelle, does the chat get captured in the notes? I guess
sometimes like we pull but Taryn left, so I'll send you the meeting text. I'll send you the notes, or you can grab it right now too, actually, if somebody.
I just wanted to get that Resilient Cities network.
Yeah.
So I got that. Okay, awesome.
You got it? Okay.
Yeah, I got it.
Perfect. Okay.
Thanks everyone.
Have a beautiful day. Thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.